With free agency seemingly winding down, there are still some notable players out there, of course. How many more, if any, free agents will the Cowboys sign before the NFL Draft? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. One notable name still out there is Tyler Lockett, the former Seahawks wide receiver who has very obvious ties to the organization, given the fact that Brian Schottenheimer, the Cowboys head coach, was once the Seahawks offensive coordinator with Lockett when statistically had some of his better campaigns. Lockett's cons and pros, I think, are mostly obvious. The value for Lockett, he was never going to get the, $17 million in cash he was owed this year by Seattle because he'd fall into wide receiver 3 on the depth chart, behind DK Metcalf, who Seattle traded, and Jackson Smith-Njigba, who they're very much excited for. Lockett had just fallen out of favor. The contract wasn't feasible. He has been released by Seattle, which makes him one of the better free agents out there in a not particularly good class. And wide receiver 3 in Seattle very well may have been wide receiver 2 in Dallas last year. The Cowboys have bodies. They have CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, Jalen Cropper, and Paris Campbell, kind of more all slot receivers, why I list them behind each other there. Jonathan Mingo, Jalen Brooks, Ryan Flournoy. Cowboys got a great wide receiver 4 to wide receiver 9 room. It's wide receiver 2 in particular that very much stands out as a flaw with this Cowboys roster. Some pros and cons, then, of potentially adding Tyler Lockett. Look, number one, he knows Schottenheimer. There is that built-in connection. I think it raises the floor at wide receiver 2/wide receiver 3, especially if, knock on wood, somebody good got hurt. And he does offer some inside-outside flexibility, which the Cowboys certainly value. The downsides. This is very clearly a player on the decline. The numbers do not lie. This is not the same caliber of player he was in his prime. And especially at this point in his career, he doesn't offer you after-the-catch ability. It's always been kind of a humorous thing to see Lockett make the catch, go out of bounds, go down, not try to break a bunch of tackles, conserve his body, whatever, but he's not going to be a crazy after-catch generator. I also think there's a numbers game issue. And from that numbers game perspective, I don't want any of these available receivers to preclude the Cowboys from drafting a wide receiver if there's one they desperately want or really want, or he's the best player available in round 1, round 2, round 3, or whatever. So overall, we'll spend some more time on this here. Would you sign Tyler Lockett? Y for yes, N for no. It is the pinned comment on today's video. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Y for yes, N for no. Now, one note I want to mention here specifically with Lockett. He was released, so he does not count against the NFL compensatory pick formula, which means the Cowboys could sign him to any contract, not have any impact there. The way comp picks work is as follows. Based on average value per year and also playing time and some other reward stuff there, you get comp picks. If you lose players or free agency, those can get canceled out, etc. Anything above $3.5 million per year is currently projected to count against the comp pick formula. Here is how things currently sit in Dallas. The Dante Fowler signing essentially cancels out the Chauncey Golston signing. The Robert Jones signing essentially cancels out the Chuma Edoga departure, I should say. But that leaves 2 open 5th-round picks for Jordan Lewis and DeMarcus Lawrence. Now, of note, there's no other qualifying players at this time. So even if you sign a receiver to a $4 million deal, and that's not, quote-unquote, worth a 5th-round comp pick, everything gets bumped up one. So if you were to sign any receiver, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, whatever, to 1 year, $5 million, you would be costing yourself, as things currently sit, a 5th-round pick. So I don't think the Cowboys are going to go after expensive true free agents here. But that does not apply to Tyler Lockett's situation. Kind of like Chidobe Awuzie. That would be a non-comp pick qualifier. Or you can wait until after the draft, and then it doesn't count on the comp pick side either, so it ends up being fine. They might just draft one early. And maybe some of these older/injured receivers choose to wait so they can potentially get more money after the NFL draft and not impact the comp pick formula. That is something I would also keep an eye out for as we move forward, given there's a lot of teams with cap space that maybe are trying to play that comp pick game as well. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. March is here, and it is time to get in with real money sports action with Prize Picks. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. March is here. Always keep an eye out for some potential free squares like the half points for Johnny Broom of Auburn there. This is available. A lot of good college basketball Prize Picks slates are available as well. Fun way to kind of add to your bracket enjoyment. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly once you play 5. You don't need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, DaRon Bland, want to discuss him on today's show. The Cowboys are faced with the looming DaRon Bland and Micah Parsons and Tyler Smith extensions. The quarterback market, as it does for pretty much every position, with the salary cap has gone up, continues to rise. This comes on the heels, our conversation, of the Houston Texans making Derek Stingley the highest paid corner in the NFL at $30 million per year. We'll see if those numbers are juiced at all when the actual details come in, but either way, he's the highest paid corner, and that's a lot of money. And now I will make note, Stingley and DaRon Bland are different style corners, but the cornerback market has been restructured or reset twice this offseason. Derek Stingley got $30 million. J.C. Horn got $25. This all on the heels of Jalen Ramsey and Patrick Surtain getting $24 million, and acknowledging that at some point Jay Alexander gets cut. These numbers look a little bit different beyond that. Now, I don't think DaRon Bland would get the $30 million price point that Derek Stingley got. But there's big gaps there in terms of the top 5, top 10 cornerback market. And if you want to pay Bland, not that far removed from the record-setting pick 6 season, it would be expensive. Now, again, I don't think it's the 30, but, I mean, to put this in perspective, that Marshawn Lattimore contract all those years ago is about the same percent of the cap as the current Derek Stingley one. So that's just the growth inflation-wise. We're up approaching 10%. It's or $9 million, I should say. It's a significant amount from 21 and change to 30. So should the Cowboys pay DaRon Bland this offseason? There's one thing I want to discuss here as well that could complicate things. D for deal, ND for no deal. Now, given your current cornerback room issues, there is a real argument that the Cowboys' best 3 at corner features DaRon Bland at nickel, at least once everyone's healthy and depending on what you do in the draft, which would mean Diggs healthy, he's on the outside. Maybe Izzy Mukwamu isn't as good as Kyer Elam, Kalen Carson. There is a very real scenario in which the Cowboys want to / almost have to put DaRon Bland at nickel. Now, what is important to consider here is that nickel corners simply do not get paid in the same way. The outside cornerback market and the nickel cornerback market are completely different. We're talking greater than half the difference. It's sizable. The highest paid nickel right now is currently Nate Hobbs, who signed with the Packers this offseason at $12 million. Then there's 4 guys, including Jordan Lewis, at $10.25 to $10 million. If I were DaRon Bland, and I bet he feels this way too, because there's no reason not to, you don't want to spend your contract year playing nickel corner, because that probably runs the risk of your market dropping. Now, if you pay him early and say, hey, but we might need you to play some nickel this year out of necessity, but long-term you're still an outside corner for us, you avoid that issue. Especially since, this time next year, it would not be a huge surprise with the way things have trended if Trayvon Diggs is moved on from at some point. That could certainly be in the cards. So, you pay him early, whatever that number looks like. Maybe you take care of short-term and long-term issues there at the cornerback spot. At least one of them, I should say. Now, our goal is 2,000 100,000 subscribers. We are 353 away from that figure. If you haven't already, hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. We will get more 30 visit updates as we move forward here. Now, 30 visits, limited to 30. You can bring them in for kind of in-depth interviews, medicals, checks, stuff like that. We have one of the Cowboys' 30 visits now known. We'll get more leaks over the next month or so here. That is Virginia Tech back Bhayshul Tuten, who I'm a fan of his game. In a very deep running back class, yes, I am intrigued here. He's not the biggest player. He's 5'9 and a quarter, 206. That's a little bit shorter than what the Cowboys normally prefer. They don't normally like going in that ballpark. But the athletic ability is astounding. 4.32, 40-yard dash, great vert, great broad. The shuttle was not particularly great. It's not always the greatest from that area in terms of some of these running backs, and you got to do all the combine tests. That's why a lot of them end up skipping it. But either way, this is a physically gifted running back who had, in a smaller workload, great production, not just at small school North Carolina A&T, but also with the Virginia Tech Hokies. Now, there are downsides here for Tuten, the biggest of which is a fumbling issue. He has a very real fumbling problem that he has lost too many of those. Too many total. Sorry, correction. Not too many lost. He has too many fumbles overall. He only lost one fumble this past year for Virginia Tech. The problem he runs into with his overall play is that over the last couple of seasons, he had 2 fumbles with Virginia Tech. Only lost 2, but 2 fumbles is kind of a concern there. I don't think he's at his size. I don't think he's an every down running back. I think you want him as part of a committee, given his drop issues, which he's had 2, and not being an elite pass protector. Actually kind of fits kind of nice alongside Javonte Williams. Might look for one more guy to share the workload. Maybe that could be Miles Sanders even. But between the return ability, the big play ability, I have a 4th-round grade on Tuten, and because there's so much depth in the running back class, that could be a strong 5th-round pick if he gets to you. I think he's a sleeper in this class. He's faster than him, but being Virginia guy-ish, and the size is very similar, and the fumbling issue too, the Tiki Barber. So what round, I think they will draft one, do you think the Cowboys will add that back? Round 1, 2, 3, get into the 4th round, 5th round, which I'd be shocked if they didn't get one before the 5th and probably the 3rd most likely. What round do you think the Cowboys end up drafting a back? Now again, we will get more news on 30 visits as the draft approaches. They'll begin to trickle in. We probably won't get all 30. I think back-to-back years, the Cowboys' 1st-round pick was a 30 visit that didn't actually get reported. Guyton, I think, was a 30 visit. I know Mozzie was one that had gone under the radar, too. We'll get more news on those. We normally get 25 of them. Expect more backs. This is a deep running back class. They will visit with a lot of back options. What's nice, by the way, is 2 notable options could end up counting for Dallas Day. The way this works is if you are a local player, there's Dallas Day, and you can come in and have some similar stuff to 30 visits and not count on the 30-visit list. And they've even allowed teams to have separate visits if you weren't able to make it to Dallas Day. Ashton Genty, who went to high school in Frisco, and Damian Martinez, who I think is from Louisville, should all count on the Dallas Day side. Martinez, by the way, also a very intriguing kind of late day 2, early day 3 candidate.